have another question that I want to answer for you. Somebody sent this to me yesterday. It says, do you think the world caters better to extroverts? And when I was thinking about this, my answer is like there's so many different ways to say yes, honestly. It's, it's a lot of yes. So let's talk about just a few ways that the world caters better to extroverts. You think back to school, to like grade school. There were a lot of classes, and this applies to college too, because I spent 10 years in college and it's kind of the same. It's even actually worse in college. Um, but in grade school and college, you have classes where you get participation grades, right? So you don't get a good grade unless you participate. And it doesn't matter whether you do the work really well. If you don't participate enough, then you don't get a good grade. Group projects, horrifying. I can't tell you how bad group projects are. Um, I have gotten stuck in so many of them where I either do all of the work and, obviously you get a good grade because you do all of the work, but you're stuck doing all the work for everybody else. Or I've been in them where I've been excluded from doing anything. So my grade depended on what everybody else did. And I even went to the professor, because this was in one of my college classes, and I said, this is ridiculous. I should not be, like, my whole class grade depends on this group project, and they won't let me do anything. And he's like, well, you just need to deal with it because that could come up for you in a job at some point and you need to know how to deal with it. And I'm like, that's total BS. Like, no company would ever hire me and then not let me do anything. And at the time, it made perfect sense. But now that I've been through a few jobs, I understand that he actually had a point. Um, Also in school, they make you do public speaking type of things. In college, at least in the United States, they require you to take a public speaking class in order to graduate from college. I took that class and it was like torture, but I also felt a little bit better because the majority of the people in the class hated public speaking too. So we all just kind of suffered together, and there's like a bonding that happens when you suffer together. um, the world also caters to extroverted people through work, again with the group projects. Lots and lots of group projects. Depending on the company that you work for, some of them are more so than others. The last year and a half, we've all had a whole nother education on Zoom calls. Um, those are, I mean, there's a whole culture around Zoom calls that's just terrifying. Staff meetings can also be terrifying, when there's 50 or 100 people that work for the company that you work for, and they're like calling on people saying, okay, you have to stand up in front of everybody and tell us about this project that you're working on. And you're like, why though? Like, this could be an email. Does everybody really care about what's going on with my job, which is marketing? Does it matter to anybody else? Not really, but that's just how they run the company. They're totally fine getting up and speaking in front of a bunch of people, so they think that everybody else should be too, right? I've noticed this as well on like hiring, like on job applications or job boards. The last few times I was applying for a job, there are some jobs, and I work in marketing, so it's probably a little bit different for people who work in marketing. But I do digital marketing, so it's not like I'm face to face with people all the time. But on a lot of the job notices, they say we only want to hire happy, bubbly, extroverted people. If you're not good with people, don't apply. And to me, that's like, really? Not everybody is extroverted. Not everybody is happy and bubbly. I mean, you could be good with people and not be extroverted, right? But it's not just like work and school where extroverted people sort of make the rules for everybody. It's also social expectations. So when you have a job or like when you go to school, a lot of people, they're, people who are big on small talk or good at small talk, they usually start conversations with, so what are you doing this weekend? Or what did you do last weekend? And if you say nothing, they're like, oh, that's so boring. Like, you don't have a life? And for me, I mean, my general response to everything is nothing. But I love to do nothing on the weekends. I plan to do nothing. I do so much during the week that I don't want to do anything on the weekends. And Saturday is like my day to just chill and like not move off of the couch. And Sunday is my day to like run errands and do something special for myself. If I want to go shopping or go to the beach, um, or go get food from my favorite restaurant, then I'll plan to do that on Sunday. So when I say I'm not doing anything, that means that I have my own little plans, but I'm not going to tell people at work that I spent all of Saturday binge watching a new TV show on Hulu. I'm not going to do that. I might tell them, like, hey, I found this new TV show that's called Murders Only in the Building or something like that. That's like about a podcast about people who were in a building in New York who are making a podcast about a murder that happened. I mean, how cool is that? But I'm not going to tell people like, hey, this is my plan for the weekend. So I've just gotten really good at just like saying, no, I didn't have any plans this weekend, or I cleaned the house, or I washed my car, something super boring. So then people just stop asking me that question because I hate that question. There are other social expectations though when you make new friends. I mean, most of my friends are on the internet, but they don't live anywhere close to me, which is sad. But when you make friends with people who live in the same place that you do, they want to like go out. And their version of going out could be going to a restaurant, or it could be like going to a club. And they just like don't understand that that's not your jam. That's not what you do at all. Dating is the same way. I've had so many people, like, had this discussion with so many people because I'm 35, about to be 36. I'm still single, unfortunately. And so dating is like torture. Nowadays, it's all about apps, which I feel like are so superficial. I mean, how can you judge whether you want to go out with a person just solely based on what they look like, right? And then you have to like go out with them and do all the small talk stuff, tell them the story of your life. And it's like, and then you have to do that over and over and over again until you find somebody that you can actually stand and that can stand you. And it's like, ugh, this is torture. Like, there has to be a better way to do this. But, the other option that people seem to have is like, oh, you should just go to a bar. And I'm like, why would I go to a bar? I never go to a bar in my own time. So why would I want to pick up a guy who's at a bar? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So if you guys have any tips for dating that doesn't involve either one of those things, please send me a direct message. I would love to hear it. But if you're like just some creepy guy on the internet who has like 0 followers and is just looking for, to say like, hey, beautiful, please don't send me a message. I get enough of those and I'm not really interested in that. One more example of social expectations is buying a car. The last time I went to buy a car was like torture. I mean, so in the United States, buying a car is a ripoff. Everybody knows it's a ripoff, and you just have to participate in it, right? Because it seems like buying a car is the only thing that's left where you have to negotiate the price, or it's expected that you negotiate the price. I don't want to negotiate the price. Just tell me what the price is and I'll pay it. I don't care if it's $10,000 more than what it's supposed to be. Just tell me what it is. And if I'm okay with that, I'll pay it. So I went and found the car that I wanted on the internet, and I looked forever because I wanted a specific type of car. I wanted a specific color, and I wanted like a specific trim on it. So, in that type of car it's kind of on the lower end of cars, but that trim was a little bit more expensive, and they're very popular. So, and I didn't want one that was brand new, right? So I wanted one that was used, but not like too used. So I was very particular and I looked for several weeks and I'm like, okay, I live around Boston, so I need to find one that's within Ubering distance from where I live, and that is like the best price that I can get. So I finally found one that was a little bit farther than I wanted to go, but I get there and I walked in and I'm like, can somebody sell me this car? I want this car. And they're like, oh yeah, we have salespeople. And so they give me the sales guy who is like, sorry. They give me the sales guy who's like super, super chatty, chatty, chatty. And I'm like, I don't really need all the small talky things. I already know that I want this car. It's totally fine. Like, can you just put the paperwork together for this car? And he's like, well, let's take it for a test drive. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So we did that and we come back and he's like, so let's sit down and talk. And I'm like, no, I want this car. Can you just draw up the paperwork? And he's like, you don't want to talk about it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I want this car. How many times do I have to say this? And I ended up spending like 3 hours almost yelling at him, like, I want this car. Like, how difficult is it for you to understand that I want this car? And then for some reason, he couldn't get everything together that night, so I had to come back the next day. And he's like, okay, so we have your car together. Like, let's go look at it and make sure that it's everything that you want. And I'm like, what? Do you have the keys? Like, I don't want to sit here and talk to you. I want to go. And he's like, well, the keys are at my desk. So we go back to his desk and we come out to the car and he's like, I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. And he's like, no, 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 you have to come talk to the sales manager. And I'm like, why? I mean, it was just, the whole thing was super drawn out and there was so much talking. It was just ridiculous. I'm like, it shouldn't be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. I think next time I buy a car, I will buy it from one of those like vending machines. I think they have one around Boston, so I'm just gonna be like, you know what? This is the car I want. I'll pay for it online and you can deliver it to my house, and I'm good with that. So the world is basically made for extroverts, the majority of it, right? So here's why that's a really bad thing. This is what happens. We have these stories that we tell ourselves, things that run in our head constantly. We end up believing that we're wrong or we're broken because we've been told these things from a young age, right? We've been told you need to participate, you need to have a bunch of friends, you need to speak up more. I was told that in class a lot. You need to participate more. You need to be better at reading out loud, all of these things, right? And so we have this story that runs in our head over and over again. And it could be something like, I'm not enough. I'm not enough because I'm not bubbly and friendly. I'm not enough because I don't have a bunch of friends like everybody else does. I'm not enough because I'm not good at talking to people because I don't like to talk to people. I'm not enough because I'm not what everyone thinks that I should be. And I'm not enough because I need to change. Everyone's telling me that I need to change, right? And as a result, we have low self-confidence. We can't just go do the things that we want to do because we believe that we're not enough. We have low self-love. It may be, you might be a lot like me, where when I was growing up, I believed that some people didn't have self-love. I believed that some people did and some people didn't. And I was just one of the people who didn't have self-love. And I wasn't really sure how to get self-love. I had this conversation with my mom so many times. especially once I got to be like in high school and college, when it came to dating, when it came to applying for jobs, anything that required you to put yourself out there. Um, she would say, "Your problem is that you don't have enough confidence." And I would say, "Yes, that is exactly my problem. How do I fix it?" And she would say, like, "I don't know how to fix it. I've never had that problem, and so I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Great. Well, how does that help me then? I mean, I know what the problem is, but I don't know how to fix it." And so as a result, like, I didn't want to go out on dates because I didn't believe that I even deserved to go out with nice looking guys. Um, I was miserable. There were times when I've just hated myself because there was something that I wanted to do, some way that, there was a job that I wanted to apply for, there was a guy that I wanted to go out with, there was some big change that I wanted to make in my life, and I didn't think that I could because I just didn't have enough confidence. Um, so we have these things that are like, okay, I want to put myself out there, but I can't because I don't believe that I'm capable of those things. And it could be something like as simple as starting a blog. I wanted to start a blog. I started 6 or 8 before I started my blog now that's called INFJ Woman. And what would happen is every single time I would write a blog post, I would like pour my heart out to this blog post. And I would hit publish after a lot of like back and forth and fighting. And then I would sit there and look at it and be like, "Oh, I shouldn't do this. I'm not a good writer. What am I doing here? This isn't gonna work. What if people hate me? What if they say really nasty things about me? What if I'm on Instagram Live and there's somebody who's saying all kinds of horrifying, terrible things about me? Wouldn't that be awful? I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not gonna do that." And then I would like unpublish it and be like, "Nope, not gonna be a writer. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna do that. I can't stand up to people like that. I don't want to be around people who are bullying me. I don't have enough to be able to tell those people to go away." And so I wouldn't. I would take the blog post down and be like, "Nope, it's fine. I'll just live my miserable little life. I don't know how to change. I'm just going to have to be miserable." That happened to me so many times for so long. And even though I knew that I needed to make a change, and I knew I needed to make a change. I didn't know what change to make, though. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know, and I didn't want to tell people. Like, I didn't want to go to my friends and be like, "Hey, I don't have any confidence. Do you know how to get confidence? Do you know where to go and get it?" Because I didn't want people to know, right? I don't want people to know I don't have enough confidence. That's weird. That would be just one more thing that would make me different from everybody else. So we have these stories that we tell ourselves, right? And they just play over and over and over again in our head. And they keep us from doing so many things, whether it's dating, whether it's finding a job that you want, whether it's putting yourself out there in so many different ways. If you want to start a blog or a YouTube channel, if you want to write a book, if you have art that you want to do, maybe you want to make cupcakes. There's this company in LA that they have a cupcake vending machine. I seen a picture of it. Somebody posted it on one of their stories, and I was like, "Damn, that is the coolest thing. Why don't we have one of those in Boston?" It's probably a good thing that we don't have one. I would go there like every day. The thing that we don't learn in school, the thing that we should learn in school, is that you're perfect just the way that you are. It doesn't matter whether you're extroverted. It doesn't matter whether you are good at public speaking. It doesn't matter whether you like to participate. It doesn't matter how many friends that you have. You're perfect just the way that you are. You were made this way with this personality for a really special reason. You were made this way on purpose. And making a big change in your life, it's not as easy or as simple as just changing the story in your head, right? You can't just go from a negative self-belief to a positive self-belief. Your ego, which is that voice in your head that has all the I statements like I'm not enough, I'm not pretty, I'm not smart, or maybe it says I am pretty, I am smart. Your ego won't allow it because it's this belief that you've had that you've been telling yourself since before you can even remember. That belief was solidified in your head probably before you were 7 or 8 years old. And how many of you actually remember when you were like 7 or 8 years old? I don't have very many memories from back then. And it seems like the older that I get, the less memories that I have from back then. I actually went to a counselor for a while. And so I presented this problem to her too, and she said, fake it till you make it. That's how you change. And I was like, really? I paid you like $200 for this advice? Fake it till you make it? That's it? That's all you have? I knew that didn't work because I had tried it so many times, and it's like, you can't just go from I'm not enough to okay, I'm enough. Like, that doesn't work. There's work that you have to do inside of you. There's an internal self-healing journey that you have to go through in order to be able to change those beliefs. It is possible to change those beliefs. I'm a living example of it because, like I said, I started a ton of different blogs, and then I finally figured out how to start one and be able to sustain it, right? A lot of people tell me you're not an INFJ because you do live videos. You're not an INFJ because you do live workshops. But that's not true. Just because I do live videos and live workshops, because I spend a lot of time on Zoom, that doesn't mean that I'm not introverted. It doesn't mean that it's easy for me to do these things. Just because I have a podcast, it's not easy. It's difficult. It's challenging, but I like the challenge. I want to keep growing and keep making myself better, and I hope that you guys do too. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this work, because I know that there's a lot of people who were exactly where I was 5 or 6 years ago who want to make a change. And it's possible to make a change, and I know the way, and I want to help you to be able to make that change as well. There's a step-by-step process that you need to go through in order to make these changes and to be able to sustain that change, to change the beliefs, to say, I can have self-confidence. And it's not fake it till you make it, believe me. You just have to get past your ego, and there are some creative ways that you can do that are really, they're kind of so easy that it's like, you have that, I don't know if you did, but my parents were always telling me, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? And so some of the things that I've done that have changed some of my beliefs have been those things that, like, this sounds too good to be true. And I'll tell you one of them that has been one of the biggest helps for me is meditation. Just spending 5 or 10 minutes every single day meditating has been crazy. I mean, it's changed so much in such a short amount of time. In less than a month, it changed a lot. I don't just like sit there and think about nothing or anything, because that's what I thought meditation was, and it's not. I use Gabby Bernstein's guided meditations, and they help so much. She has one on positive affirmations. There's one on gratitudes that I do a lot that helps. Both of those things are amazing. I mean, you will see such a huge change within just a couple of weeks. There are other things that you can do as well, and there's a huge, there's a lot of information. For me, it's kind of like when I learned my personality type, it was like I felt lost and confused and misunderstood. And then I learned my personality type, and it was like, oh my God, all of this understanding, like this huge wave of new knowledge and understanding. And it's like, yes, I finally feel understood. I finally know what so many of my problems are. I can finally make progress and move forward. When I started learning about self-love, it was the same feeling. It's like, I know what the problem is now. I know how to fix the problem now. And it makes so much of a difference. That's why I've created a free workshop that I'm going to do next week. And if you're not a part of it yet, you need to be a part of it. It's called Here for This. And we're going to talk about all of the things that we talked about today. We're going to talk about how to break the habit of being you, because so much of our personality comes from habits that we learned before we can even remember. A lot of those stories that you tell yourself. It's a 5-day free workshop. It's totally free, so you should definitely come. The second day, we're going to talk about who were you before you were told who to be. The third day, we're going to talk about how to change your energy. The fourth day, I'm going to give you 3 powerful ways to embrace your self-worth. And the last day, we're going to talk about living a happy life through daily acts of joy and happiness. One of those steps is definitely to unfollow nasty people on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Probably block them, especially when they say nasty stuff about you. If you want to join the workshop, there is a link on so many different posts. In my bio on Instagram, the link is also, it's INFJwoman/here for this, spelled out. So make sure that you go and join. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys there. I think there's already over 100 people there. 100 people who are INFJs who are interested in doing the same work. They're going through the same experience that you are, and they're there for support, and they're to make friends, and we can all support each other. This is a safe space. I want to say that too. There are a lot of people, like the guy on Instagram right now, that is going to go. I spend a lot of time monitoring the comments because it's important to me that this is a safe space for INFJs to learn about themselves, for us to be able to heal and to get better and to improve. And I delete comments because I'm not interested in people being nasty and hateful. I want people to feel like this is a safe space. And obviously hateful comments doesn't accomplish that. So anyway, make sure that you join infjwoman.com/here for this. And if you have any questions, please send them to me. You can send them to me on Instagram. My direct messages are always open. Send me a message. And I will be back tomorrow to answer some more of your questions. So you just watched that video, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.